I have 60 leads. 60? No. 50 some odd leads that I have to call right now. So, and I have no energy to do it.
Oh no!
So we'll talk
Don't say that.
Talk about that right now.
We're recording right now. Don't say
Are
that.
we recording?
Yeah, we're recording.
Are we really?
Yes.
No,
Well, I can't hear myself.
You can't hear yourself?
No, I can't hear myself either.
I can't hear
okay.
myself. That's why.
Yeah, me.
What about now? What about
No.
There.
No, there we
I
go.
can't.
Oh,
There you
hello,
go.
Hello. Hey, what?
Okay.
I can hear you guys perfectly fine. Sorry.
I can't hear it in one.
Oh, then it's too tight. Technical difficulties. It's been a while. Well, we did that one episode.
Yeah, it's only on one.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, you want to...
Not all the way in. Nope. You went too far. Just one click.
Just the tip, Albert. Just the tip.
Just the tip.
Huh?
Still? Nothing? Yeah? No?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Okay. All
There
right.
you go.
There you
Just the tip.
go. I think it was user error.
So we're
No
recording
fucking
Yeah,
comment.
we're
Oh,
recording.
are we? Okay. All right.
So-
Well, let's get started. From
Whoa,
this
whoa,
day...
1, 2,
so-
3. No, hold
Yeah.
on. And go.
All right.
Cut it off. Cut
right.
that off.
Welcome to the Triple M podcast, formerly known as the Money Making Money podcast. And we have sponsors. So, we have batch services. Go ahead and click the link below. You'll get 20% off of all your skip tracing needs. Leads to Cash, which is our call center. You can go ahead and contact us in regards to having a virtual assistant and calls being made for you so they can create some leads. Mentorship program as well. Go to our website. The Expanse Real Estate Team for all your retail transactions.
Nice.
And we have something for you guys. We have a system
Fan
now.
interaction.
Right, fan interaction. Right, exactly. So within Podio, we have a Podio integration system for our wholesale. We have not been able to come up with a name for it. So we were thinking...
Get some ideas. Shoot us some ideas.
Cash Now Systems is like generic, and
Yeah.
I don't like it. And then we were thinking maybe, what was it? Convert to Cash, maybe, something
Yep.
like that as a CRM. So we need names for CRM, so go ahead and put it in the comments below, or DM us, or hit us up, or, I don't know, give us
Something.
hand
Email
signals or whatever.
cashnowhomesaz@gmail.com.
Yep, there you go.
Oh,
All right. So now we're starting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. So we had previously discussed on an episode subject to financing with Scotty V. Wanted to circle back on that to maybe go into a little bit more detail as we're about to take down a property right now. This would be another property that we've taken
I was
down
gonna say,
subject to, let's call it the Douglas property.
The Douglas.
Yeah.
Ooh, that'd be cool. That'd be a cool little sign on the garage.
Yeah,
the Douglas.
the Douglas.
The Douglas, yeah.
So I thought it would be good to maybe just go in a little bit more detail as to how we are making that work. And then this one is a little bit more unique to it because we're doing what we call a wrap on it as well. We're giving some additional financing to make the deal work, but we're not coming out of cash or out of pocket for it. We're paying it over time, which in turn the rental should pay for it. So,
right.
Where do we start?
Okay, so first let's start how we got. This seller was one that sold us another property beforehand.
Yes.
Subject
Right?
to.
As a subject to.
Right, as a subject to, and he's familiar with it already.
Which is great.
Right, exactly. Then all of a sudden he turns around and he's like, hey, I have another property. You guys did such a great job on that first one. Right, here you go. I'll give you number 2.
Well, she's got quite a bit of property.
Yeah, number 3 and number 4 are on their way.
They're on their way, right, exactly. So, we're making him happy as a seller. And so with the conversation that I had with him, right, was, okay, well, we did this. We can do the same for this new property.
Yes.
Right, and I think that Jeff was the one that basically took over at that point, right? So we just needed to see what the mortgage statement was that he currently has on it. Payment on it is like $312, $315,
something like that.
Something like
Yep.
$312, something like that. With tax and insurance, we're under $500, somewhere around there. The property is hopefully Mateo can put in like pictures or whatever. But
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, the property is a kind of residential and commercial, so it's zoned for
Mixed
both.
use.
Mixed use, right?
Yep.
It's on a corner. It's on a corner right next to a pet shop, and then right next door to residential property. So, from a commercial aspect, that the value's a lot higher than what we thought, right? So we ended up getting it for $75,000.
$75,000.
$75,000, right? So $75,000. He still owed $40 on it, right? $40 on it, and then the difference of that $35,000, we're just basically telling him you're going to go ahead and put in second position, and we're going to make you monthly payments.
Yep. So he's essentially became our lender on top of it.
Right.
So we're going to be taking over the mortgage, right? Making those payments going forward, and then giving him a little piece of the pie as time goes on.
Yeah. And the building's really cool. Like it has like a small like home area, but the garage looks like it's a mechanic's garage, right?
Yeah.
So they build they fix cars and stuff like that, and it's very square. So if we give it's square, I know, but the reason why is because the garage. Okay, so the garage is square, like sheet of paper, right? And I was like, man, that would be cool if you just put the Douglas right on that.
Yeah.
Right on that.
Yes, right on the garage door.
On the garage door. Yeah, put the Douglas on there.
The Douglas.
That's why I was like, the Douglas. And so then rent's in the area, right? You did the research.
They're over 1,000.
Yeah.
So and that's if you just kept it residential. That's not if you went the commercial route. Yeah. So and right now it's under rented, which is an advantage we have now because we can then bring it up to a standard we have and bring it to market rent.
Yep.
So even right now, the current renter, how much is it?
$750.
Yeah.
$750. So we're already profiting day one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's $100, but I mean, at the very minimum, we're already profiting right from the start. We'll have to make some renovations, make some adjustments on the property because it's not in the greatest of shape, right? It's from 1974. At least the furniture inside was 1974. It looked dusty.
Yes.
It looked dusty. So we'll have to do some renovations, maybe some carpet paint.
I gotta look at those pictures.
And then get it up market ready and rent it out.
I agree. Yeah, dude. I was thoroughly surprised how much you guys started to like the property, especially after we went to Wisconsin and saw this property. So I knew it was going to be a good property once he brought it to our attention. It's just a matter of how we were going to do it and take it down. So I was glad that he was open to, us taking over the mortgage again and then doing the additional financing on top of it to give him payments.
Yep. So the numbers work great. Do you know if it? So in the parking area.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the property. It has 3 parkings in front.
Right in front of the property, but I mean, there's additional space too as you get closer to the street. So we probably maybe fit maybe like 7 cars in that.
7 cars. So that little corner nugget.
Yeah,
right? That
it's
little
all
corner elbow
it's all
is
part
all
of it.
part of it. Oh wow, that's even better. That's a come up. I like it. Hopefully you guys get pictures on the links down below so that way you can at least check it out.
Take a look at it.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll if not, just send us DMs and we'll
show it to you.
We'll show it to you. But
it's unique.
Exactly. Yeah, and so then not to segue out of that, right?
Yeah.
Right now, currently with us doubling down and so on and so forth.
I like how we used that 18 million times last episode.
Right, I know, I loved it. Exactly. Expanse and double down. Expanse and double down. Expanse and double down. Right? So, but we are getting a ton of leads. And
a lot.
And now it's hard. It's hard. Like, I can't find enough time in the day to call. Like,
I get backed up. Luckily, I have my brother who happens to be now an acquisition manager for us in Wisconsin, and he's helping, but there are a lot, and he has a whole bunch that he needs to follow up on today, and I'm like, dude, I need to tackle these with you. Like, there's no way that we can't just not, sit on them for an extra day. Like, we got to take care of it.
Right. Yep, exactly. And I'm going, man, Jesus. It's a low energy day for me because I finally got back to working out. And so I'm like, I'm sore. My body's sore. I'm mentally drained. I'm like, I got to make these calls. And it's like 60 leads that I have to call. So I'm I'm glad.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. Problem. I'm glad to have that problem. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. It's definitely better than where we were 2-3 months ago. Even though we still had leads, but these are just better quality leads.
They are.
So yeah, so
100% agree with that.
Right. Yep.
It's almost like with the type of leads that we are getting, the deal's done. It's just a matter of us getting our comfort level with the seller and then getting pictures to the property. Like, I mean, we need to see the inside and things like, get a little bit more detail of the property, so we're making a conscious decision.
Right. And so then, that was a good tip. So tip of the day, right? If we're even doing that, I don't. Every single podcast is always different. So tip of the day, ask your seller for pictures.
Yes.
Now we are in post-COVID environment. Sellers will actually go out and take pictures of the property for you. And they will actually put them on a drive and then send them to you, right? Ask them for 30 to 40 pictures of the exterior, the interior. Make sure that they're well framed. Give them a little bit of instructions. If they're willing to sell it, they will send you the pictures.
Yes.
So just tip of the day. Like that.
Tip of the day, top of the hat.
That's what came to my head. Exactly. Like, tip of the day, top of the hat.
Top of the morning.
Top of the morning to you guys.
We're testing out the mic right now. Right. That's what we're doing. Essentially, just kind of go, for those that don't know, like, the business in its entirety, like, I guess we explained what a subject to is, but...
Yeah.
Do we explain it properly enough? Like,
No, I'll go more into detail, right? So if you buy a house, you need a loan. You need money for it, right? So nobody's going to just give you a house without money. But in our case, they depending on the situation of the seller, what happens is that there's a rare way that you can. It's not rare. It's not rare. You just have to be open to it, and sellers sometimes don't understand the concept, right? So if you have a home, I'm just going to use this basic example, $100,000 home, right? And the home is now paid off to zero, or they owe $20,000. Let's first start subject to. So they owe $20,000, right?
Yep.
But they want the house needs a lot of repairs, so on and so forth, and they want $50,000 on it, right? So what you would do is that, okay, you'll tell them, I'll take over the payments on that $20,000. There's your subject to. So we're going to go ahead and take the property subject to those $20,000 that they owe on that first mortgage. And then to be another creative, you could either give them $30,000 in cash, which most of the time we don't. You're not going to do that. You would give them $30,000 in cash for that property. Or you would then tell them, hey, you know what? I'll give you $10,000 in cash or $5,000 in cash, right? 5% or 10% down. And then from there, you'll just carry the note for either the $20,000 balance or the $25,000 balance. And so assuming that the payment on the $20,000 that's owed right now is very low, $200 or $300, you'll have a second mortgage for another $200 or $300. Based off of that, now you have a property that you put $5,000 to $10,000 into it, and now your monthly payments are going to be about $400. That's worth $100,000. And if a property is worth $100,000, chances are that property would rent for market value. And market value for a property worth $100,000 is usually anywhere between $800 to $1,500, depending on the area.
Just use the 1% rule. At least,
right,
$1,000.
$1,000.
So let's do this for the audience that'd be listening.
Okay.
I have a house. Your cold callers called me, and I said, yes, I am interested in selling. However, the cash offer is too low. So pitch to me how you would pitch a subject to. Okay, Mr.
Seller. Okay, so the cash offer, we'll use that same example, $100,000. How about that? Right?
Yeah.
So that cash offer of $50,000 doesn't float your boat.
Does it work for you?
Does it work for you? And okay, so then what would you think would be what would you think is the price, right? Obviously, you've owned the home for a long time. You know exactly what the real estate market is. You know more about that property than I do. So what do you think would be an offer that would be valid?
I think $100,000 would be more of my suiting.
Okay. So, all right. So, and have you tried listing it?
No, I haven't. I don't think it's good for the market. I don't want to go through those realtors or any of that.
Okay.
I hate realtors.
All right. And so if that's the case, right? So even if you were to put it on the market, you have commissions, you have fees, and so on and so forth. So even if you were to put it at $100,000, you're not really going to be netting $100,000. Do you agree?
I agree with you, yes.
Right,
You're
exactly,
right. All those
exactly.
commissions I don't want to pay.
Exactly. And so you mentioned to me that there's some repairs that need to be done on the property. So if that's the case, right, obviously $100,000 is not something that you're going to be looking at, right? So what would you consider, right? You obviously know my number, right? Now what's your number, right? That's kind of how negotiations work.
So you're talking me down.
No, I'm just pointing out the obvious.
If I have to pay if I had to pay a realtor and all their fees, and if we have to replace the kitchen, I guess maybe 85.
85. Okay. All right, and so then 85,000, right? And so then now, all right, would you be willing to do 60 for a cash offer?
No, it's still too low.
Still too low. Okay, so then look, how about we do this? I agree to your price, right? If I agree to your price, you have to agree to my terms.
Well, what are terms?
Right, what are terms? Okay, so terms are basically I'll agree to the $85,000. But then now the next thing that we have to do is that you said that you owed $20,000 on that first. On the first mortgage, right?
Yes.
Okay, so great. So what I'll do is that I'll give you the $85,000, but then I'll give you some money up front, and then I'll make payments.
Okay. Well, what does that look like?
Okay, that's fine. So off of the $20,000, let's just use round numbers, right? That payment is $200, right? So then from there, I'm going to be at, $65,000, right? So $65,000. I'll go ahead and make you payments. What is that? And it's okay for uncomfortable silences.
Yeah.
So,
well, he's doing math right now.
Right,
guys.
exactly. So I'll pay you. So it's $200 for the $20,000, and then I'll pay you $180 a month for the balance of the $65,000.
Forever?
No, it's set up for 30 years.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Just like a regular loan.
Can you pay that sooner?
I can pay it off sooner. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, and if you want to get out of the property in 10 years, sure, no problem.
Okay. So what would happen then at that 10-year point?
10-year point, you get the balance. Whatever the balance is at that time. I'll continue to make the payments for 120 months. Off of those, after those 120 months, whatever that balance is, that you get the difference.
And what interest is that at?
So far, we haven't discussed anything about interest, right? So general current markets are at it's 3% appreciation per year, so I can pay you 3%.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. This sounds favorable.
And so then that's basically in a nutshell. Now the rest is just paperwork, right? You have to find out. You have to get the mortgage statement for the first mortgage. Then he has
to make sure that's what they're paying,
right? Yes. And then what will happen is that all you have to do is really just get it signed for that price, and then in your contract you can go ahead and let title know, and title will go ahead and drop a note for you. 9 times out of 10 they already know what to do, and then they'll go ahead and do it. Now this note in particular, we're going to be drawing it up with a 10-year balloon.
Yeah.
Right? So normally it would be a loan just for 30 years, but this is now going to have a 10-year payoff. Yeah. At the end of 10 years, he's going to be paid off one way or the other. So the property either has to be refinanced, has to be sold, or something.
Yeah.
Right. Most likely, if they're continuing to get that monthly payment every single month, they're just going to continue on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Now, if they come up and ask us, what precautions do I have if you don't make a payment? You just stop making payments.
There's it's not a promissory, performance note.
Yep.
So the performance note basically guarantees that something happens. If we don't make the payment for some odd reason, they take the house. It's that simple.
Just goes right back.
Back to them, right? So then they're not only getting they're getting their normal cash flow. They don't have to be landlords of the property anymore. They don't have to take care of the repairs. They don't have to do any of those items anymore. And then if for any reason we default, they get the house back. So the risk factor is great. Absolutely.
So from what I've noticed and experienced since we've been doing this, it's not really you're trying to sell them on the idea. It's really explaining it to a point that they understand and that they're comfortable with.
Right.
The process is going to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's also tax implications too, because now if they're selling the property but they didn't receive the proceeds, receive the proceeds, they're not hit on their taxes as heavily, because now it's spread out over 360 months. So then now they're only taxed a small percentage of whatever income.
We're not CPAs, and they need to go and check out their own damn CPA.
You do your own homework. Don't sue us in regards to the.
Don't sue me, bro.
Don't sue me, bro.
Don't sue us, please. Thanks.
That was a good explanation, right? I mean, I think the scenario too will help those that listen or watch us.
Yeah.
Basically, help them guide them through a subject to. I know that there are a lot of gurus out there, and that like. Subject to right now is the hot chick. Everybody's trying to get a subject to deal, but from what I've seen and what I've been trying to pull with it is there's not many scenarios out there. Everybody's all like, well, this is how it works, but they're not really telling you how to address it with your client or your customer. Or,
right.
Well, how do you bring it up? How do you bring it up?
Right. And so this is not. It typically wouldn't work. It typically would work with people that have very little equity inside of their property, or with people that have already done it before, where they purchase the home subject to as well.
Okay.
Right. So or they're in a position where they don't need a lot of cash up front. They just want to get rid of the property. Mm-hmm. That's usually the best kind of seller that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work for a lot of the deals. But it's a good tool to have in your tool belt.
Yeah, it is, because sometimes there's that property that you do. It's a really good deal, but you can't buy it cash, or but it's still a great deal. It could be a great investment property, and those doing terms always ends up being.
Yeah, and that's also another thing, right?
Yeah.
Terms. They call it terms, subject to, and then seller carry, right? So we didn't discuss that part. So say, for example, that same $100,000 house, right? If you want to go in and you want to buy it and you only have $5,000, you tell them, all right, well, I'll give you $5,000. And then the $95,000 that I owe you on this loan, well, you just create a note and then divide that by 360, and there's your monthly payment. Yeah. And that one's pretty simple. That one's easier than the subject to.
Yeah.
Right. So with subject to, you still will need, you'll need to have, a couple of power of attorneys, so just so that you can have access to the mortgage, have access to the insurance, and have access to utilities in case of anything. With a seller carry, the seller is now the bank, so you don't need any of those documents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're your lien holder, basically.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So
when they own it free and clear.
They own it free and clear. Yeah. Yep.
So
exactly.
They become the bank.
Yep. That's
cool.
pretty much it. Yeah.
Well, that was a good short, as George stated earlier, we have leads to call.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Make sure that you guys hit us up on the email portion with trying to help us find a name for our systems.
Yeah, our systems. It's our CRM.
Yep. So just hit us up either in the comments below, DM,
Shoot us an
email, cashnowhomesaz@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. Other than that, make sure you like, subscribe, everything else, and then
we'll see you on the next one.
Oh, you want to do the things?
Yeah.
Let's see here. George. Oh yeah, we are, and our sponsors are Batch Systems. I like doing it very like the way that I do it.
Yeah.
So Batch Systems leads cash as well. So our call center. The call center and VA, so they're very helpful in regards to what you need done. If you need contracts sent out, they'll go ahead and do that. They'll call a bunch of people, and they don't care if they get yelled at and no's all day long. So that's what they get paid for. Our mentoring program, you can click the links below, find that information. Expanse Real Estate for all your real estate needs. And then we need a name for the cash systems, and you guys know the email address. It is cashnowhomesaz@gmail.com. Yep. And hit like, refresh, subscribe.
Yes, all that.
All
yes,
those.
Let me say it again.
Right.
Heart.
Do it up. Heart. Yes. Heart. He's going to use that for the...